As a Shakespeare coach, one of the first things that actors usually ask me is, am I doing the iambic pentameter right? Well, friends, I gotta tell you, that is not what the audition panel is looking at. Yes, it is a part of Shakespeare that is important and useful and all of those things, but you don't have to stress about it, because if it's for a theatre production, they're gonna work on the rhythms with you in rehearsal usually, unless you're working at a really competitive level. And if it's for drama school, generally they're gonna teach you about that stuff when you get there. So they're actually looking at something quite different rather than just, you know, those rhythms or sounding fancy. Now, the audition panel is assessing a few different things, but generally what they're looking for is whether you can be dynamic and truthful and expressive even when you're handling something that is heightened, a bit outside the normal everyday kind of language, right? So even though the language is important, actually in order to do really well with it, we have to first make our bodies our priority rather than the words. The words are important too, but most people are really failing on the body side of things. Let me explain. Firstly, your voice is part of your body. So if you're not connected to your body, if you don't know how to energize and connect and get everything working in sync, it doesn't matter how much script analysis you do, how much beating of rhythms or alliteration practice or whatever you're doing, it won't come out when you're performing if you don't know how to use your full instrument, not just your voice, but your body, where your voice lives. So many actors I work with are really intelligent, they're really hardworking, they know what everything means, they've done that work to pull apart the text, but when they perform it, it's coming out sounding flat, dull, disconnected. It's just not popping or coming to life the way that they cerebrally want or intend because they don't know how to connect to their bodies. So when you prioritize doing exercises that reconnect you to your body so everything kind of works in sync, your voice will come along for the ride. And that's when everything starts to work together and all the work that you've done really starts to actually get across. And this is essential if you've only ever done screen work. Chances are, if you're trained just in screen work and you've never done theatre, this is going to be so important for you because most people that have done screen work are so used to kind of reducing what their body's doing that they're actually what I think of as like dead fish body, which is like, everything's happening from here upwards and nothing from the neck downwards. This is so common. Oh my goodness, it's so common, which is why I'm making this video. Secondly, Shakespeare is what we call heightened. I mentioned this term before, you might have come across it. It basically means it contains stuff beyond the everyday. It sits outside of realism or naturalism. And what that really means in practice is that it requires more energy. It's not necessarily that it's over the top. We're still trying to find truthfulness. And I've got more videos on this as well if you're kind of bamboozled by this. But basically what we're working with is more energy for heightened text. It's more, sometimes just potential energy. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're always going to be moving around and waving your arms about, especially if you're doing a self-tape. But actually we've got a lot of energy that we've generated inside ourselves, which is why Shakespearean actors tend to look really dynamic. It's because they've got all this energy going on and then they kind of decide how they're going to use it. I often describe Shakespeare as the feeling that you get when you're about to run a race, right? It's that kind of like, whoo, that's ready to go. It doesn't mean that you're actually necessarily doing the running part. It's like potential energy. And that's why it's so fun too. It's really alive and dynamic. So when you start to get that energy going, you start to look really dynamic on stage. You really stand out because we're like, ooh, something going on there, a little sparkle. And finally, and this is kind of just like a massive bonus that also will help your contemporary work, movement and energy, flow of energy allows emotion to flow. When we start to rehearse with movement, with energy, what you'll often find is that your emotions start to naturally flow. So times when you have maybe felt stuck or frozen or like you're trying to access that, the crying or whatever, a lot of the time that is set free when you start to prioritize these kind of exercises that get you connected to the body, because it's your body experiencing this stuff, not just your brain. So bringing our attention back to the body brings everything back in sync, and you really need that for Shakespeare. And once you get really good at Shakespeare, you tend to become better at other acting things as well, because you understand how everything works in sync. That's what we want. That's what makes good acting. A little song for you there called good acting. I often find that people, when I teach them these methods, they will come back to me and go, I just cried in the audition. The emotion just came. Like crying in a good way, because everything was online and it feels effortless. And I know that's something that many of us want, right? We want to be free of tension. We want to let everything flow. So focus on the body. So let's start with some easy win exercises that can get you reconnected to your body. Now, with all of these, all you have to do is do them while you are rehearsing your text. So really simple things you can do: running, jumping, skipping, dancing, or shaking. I do pretty much all of those in different combos depending on what's going on for me on the day. My studio members who have worked with me a lot know that the first thing I do as soon as I need to run a monologue is I'm like running on the spot to get my energy up. And then sometimes I will also still shake while I'm talking through the text. Now, this is why you're getting to know the text. Don't worry too much about whether you're doing amazing acting as you're doing it. This is rehearsal technique. The more you do it, the more that you'll find your body just knows how to be energized. It actually habitualizes that level of energy that you need. So for me, the higher the emotion is, the higher the stakes, the more I'm moving around, because it helps that emotion flow. It helps keep the energy up, and it stops you getting tense. A common saying, and I'm sorry, I don't know who to attribute it to, is movement is the antidote to tension. So you can also do easy movements, stretch, roll around on the floor, just moving your body while you're speaking. So kind of letting the words work on you, and listen to it as you speak and see, what does that make me feel? How is my body responding to this text? Now, if you want to go deeper, if you're the person starting to really pull apart the text and go, I really want to highlight that particular word. Or maybe you're finding that, you've got more energy, but maybe it's still not quite translating into the text. The text is maybe sounding a little bit flat, so not sure that you're getting your meaning across or your emotion across. Here's how you can take this further. You can start to attach certain movements to particular words. So if you decided, look, I really want to highlight these couple of words because I want the audience to get them, or they've got really cool sounds, or they're really just descriptive, or whatever it is, you can do gestural work on those words. Now, gestural can be so simple. Most people overthink this. Honestly, sometimes just like pointing when you say certain words, or a little kind of politician fist. Boxing is a really good one as well. I often encourage my students to box because it's very energetic, and it can help you mark certain words. So for example, I left no ring with her. What means this lady, right? And you should only have a couple of punches per line. That's going to stop you overdoing it throughout the whole monologue, and it's going to help you think more consciously about what you're emphasizing. And if you've done any of this kind of work before, something like Laban technique, where you've got 8 effort actions, that is fantastic to apply. So a lot of those kinds of techniques that you might have used before, if you've ever done that kind of movement work, really work well with Shakespeare. Now, do you do this on the audition day? No, but you might jump around or have a little bit of a stretch, like release your energy or get the energy up before you speak. So practicing all these techniques, so it's going to help you with your contemporary acting as well, which is so awesome. But there are some specific things that are different between classical and contemporary. So in my next video, I'm going to break down what those key differences are so you can confidently navigate that change from contemporary acting or screen acting into classical master. That's you. All right, my friends, have fun running around the house, and I will see you in the next video.